Hello enemies and book lovers, my name is Ash, and this is going to be my wrap up for the month of June. I'm pretty much going to be copying my idea for my TBR video and doing this based off of a genre instead of star rating. I know a lot of people that watch my videos don't like certain genres, so we're going to be doing this based off genre or format depending on the books. So right now we're going to be doing a genre. First we're going to be going over graphic novels. I read 4 graphic novels for the month of June. It was a Readathon and I needed to get all the prompts done, so I kind of just did some graphic novels. So the first graphic novel I'm going to talk about is the Tea Dragon Tapestry and the Tea Dragon Festival. This is by Kay O'Neill, and this was a really sweet quick read. I read the first book a long time ago. Well, not that long. It's only like 2 years ago. The Tea Dragon Society books pretty much just focus on characters who are, they're all kind of different to be honest, but a lot of them follow tea dragons, which the first one I think was my favorite just because there's so many tea dragons in it. They are so cute. They're these little tiny dragons. They're kind of like pets in a way, or even like companions. And once you get to know them and you bond with them, they start to produce tea leaves, and it's so cute. All the diversity in these books that go along with disabilities, race. There was characters that spoke in sign language, which is pretty interesting. I'm currently studying ASL, so it's kind of cool to see sign language in a book. I would recommend it if you just want a really wholesome, just fast read. I gave both of these books 4.5 stars, which is pretty good for me. I think I rounded it to a 4, but still 4.5 stars is pretty good for me. They're just really precious and sweet books, so yeah, recommend it if you like that kind of stuff. Next, I reread Saga, and this is by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is a reread from me. I read the first one like 3 years ago, maybe 2018, 2019, and then I caught up to the series about a year after that. So I would say I've been reading this series for at least 3 years, and I'm kind of preparing for the next volume. I reread this to prepare for the next book that's coming out at the end of this year, and yeah, I'm still not over the fact that they made us wait that long after the ending, but here we are. This is a sci-fi adult graphic novel series that's pretty popular. I have Lion Cat like right here, and this is the cat in the series. It's probably one of my favorite characters. I don't care if she's a cat. She's one of my favorite characters. And following a couple from 2 enemy factions or 2 enemy races, and they have a child together. And this child is pretty much going to be sought after. People are trying to kill the entire family to stop them from having their child Hazel. And we're following in the perspective of Hazel and her like narrative as we're following the books. So she's growing up and narrating what's happened in her life and all that. And I think it's really fun. It's a really great book. A lot of people talk about it. This graphic novel series, very popular, and honestly I would try it out, but it is adult. There's themes and visuals in there that are interesting. I don't have it with me. Actually, I wouldn't be able to show it on YouTube anyway, but still, like, it's still a fun series. I would definitely recommend it for people that like sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of stuff, and graphic novels in general. It's great. Hopefully I can get to the rest of the books before the end of the year. We'll see about that, but yeah. Here comes an unpopular opinion. So the next book I read for the month of June is my last graphic novel for this month, and that is Check Please. Alright, like I said, unpopular opinion starting in a second, so just be wary of that. I went into this expecting like just a really sweet romance. I actually didn't know it was like a comic series beforehand. I read webtoon and comics on my phone or my iPad, so I understand the kind of way that it's done on those types of platforms. In a book though, it's a little bit jarring. So we start different types of sections in the book. We'll have like a scene where they're just doing this hockey tournament, and then the hockey tournament ends, and then it just cuts off. It starts off somewhere random, and I know that's how comics are done sometimes because it's episodic and sometimes it's updated every week, so I understand how that works. But in a book format, it doesn't work great, in my opinion at least. I don't love that because it just ends and then the next topic pops up, and it just feels like it's open-ended sometimes. So if it's not obvious by now, I think I gave this book like a 2 stars. It's unfortunate. Like, there were aspects I liked. I love the hockey aspect. I mean, I'm Canadian. I had like a hockey thing when I was younger. I liked hockey. I went to hockey games once in a while. But yeah, I don't really like hockey as much, but I still liked it because of the hockey aspect. But the art style, I don't hate the art style, but there's something about the art style I don't like. Now, I took photos. They're not gonna be the best quality, but I took photos so that you can see why I feel like this. So there's a romance. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I don't think it's a spoiler. There's a romance between Biddy and Jack, and I'm gonna put photos up. So from what I know and what I've watched in animation, usually characters with like bigger eyes are usually seen as younger. In my opinion, they're almost childlike sometimes. And Biddy has like really big eyes as a drawing concept, like his artwork, that's his concept of his character. And like nothing's wrong with that, I'm not saying that's something wrong with that, but he seems very young because of it. Out of all the characters in the book, he's like the only one like that. If you look at the cover alone, you can see how like his eyes are a lot bigger than like everyone else's. You can't really see it that well, but like his eyes are huge. So it makes him look like he's like 16, 17, maybe 18 years old. I think he's supposed to be like 18, but he just comes across a little younger because of the art style. And then we have Jack, who looks like he's like 30 years old, at least 30 years old, maybe older, in my opinion. His father even shows up in the book, and I could hardly tell them apart. Honestly, I couldn't. I could not tell them apart. So there's a scene where they kiss, and I felt so uncomfortable because literally Jack looks like his dad. Like he's old enough to look like his dad, but he's not. He's like 20. I think I googled it and he's like 22 or 23. This is 100% a me problem. I don't think I've seen anyone else talk about this. It's just a me problem. It's just weird. The art style makes the ages look so drastic in my opinion. And I just don't like that about it. So this criticism is kind of just personal. Nothing really wrong with it. The author did not intend on this, I don't think, so do not blame the author for that. That is just what I see from it. I don't hate the art style itself, it's just like the romance of it. Like here's a comparison. Here's Jack and here's Biddy. Do not tell me they look a few years apart. He looks like he's like 15 and he looks like he's like 40 years old. Okay, why am I getting upset? It's not that bad. I'm just being dramatic. It wasn't for me. Gave it like a 2.5 stars. That's all I have to say about it. That was the last of my graphic novels. I'm gonna quickly go over the next one because it kind of is in its own category, and that is of course Inseparable by Simone de Beauvoir. And I've already did a whole vlog on this, so I'm not gonna talk much about it, but this was my Library Lotto choice for the month of June, and I liked this a lot. I did not rate it because it is pretty similar to nonfiction. It's based off of real events, so I didn't rate it, but I did enjoy it. It made me cry. I liked it a lot. If you want to see all about that, I have a whole video on it. I'll link it, and down there, up there, you know what I mean. Now let's move on to some of the fantasy-esque books on my TBR. We're gonna start from like middle grade to young adult to adult, so let's do it in that order. Before I bring on to the fantasy, I want to have one sci-fi book, and that is The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Sheffer. And this book, I have it on my mid-year book tag, or like the freakout tag. I have this, and I loved this so much. I gave this a 4.5. It was so close to a 5. It did not get a 5 stars. It got rounded down to a 4, but it was so close. It was so close to a 5 stars. I loved it so much. This follows two crewmates, and they are separate on both sides of a ship. There's like a door separating them, and the main character is trying to figure out who the other guy is, and they're trying to discover what's happening. This is like a psychological sci-fi mystery. I didn't know that. I thought it was literally just going to be like a gay sci-fi in space, and I was like all for that, all for it. But this book took me on a roller coaster, and honestly, if you like romance, if you like tragedy, if you like psychological like mysteries, that kind of stuff, please try this book. It was so good. This could be a spoiler depending on if you know the video game, but I feel like a lot of people, it's kind of niche. But if you like the video game Soma, that game is one of my favorite games ever, and it gives me such similar vibes. It has a lot of similar aspects to it. So if you like this book, maybe look at Soma, or if you like Soma, maybe check this book out. It's so good, the psychological aspect of it. I have cried at least 3 times or teared up during 3 different moments. I liked mostly the beginning to like the 3/4 of the way. Once they got to their destination, I wasn't as interested, but still, even then, I liked it so much. The romance is good. The romance is pretty cute, but honestly, I loved the psychological aspect of it and how humans react to different environments and different things that they learn. So interesting, so interesting. 100% recommend it to anyone that likes sci-fi with romance, and this is between 2 male characters, so of course like gay romance, I mean, it's great. Honestly recommend this, and if this author ever writes more sci-fi, I want to read it. We're finally going to be moving on to fantasy, and the first thing I'm going to be bringing up is The Last Dragon, which is the second book in the Revenge of Magic series by James Riley. Unfortunately, this was a DNF for me, and I DNF'd it pretty quickly. It wasn't because I didn't think it was good per se. I'm just incredibly picky with middle grade because obviously I have outgrown that you know, age range. And I don't think middle grade is bad by any means. This book series so far, when I read it, had very interesting characters. I was curious what was going to happen, but just not enough for me to continue it. I think that I was kind of pushing myself through, and I was not retaining much by the time I was reading this book. And honestly, I don't really read middle grade anyway. The only time I ever read middle grade was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. My boyfriend introduced me to the Percy Jackson series. That was the first time I ever picked up middle grade. I'd never even read it when I was in the age demographic. So I think it's just that I outgrew it, and it's just not my genre, and I did not rate it because I didn't think it was fair. I don't think I'm going to continue the series. If I really wanted to, it's all at my library, so I can try. But yeah, this unfortunately was DNF, but it wasn't bad. I just don't think it just wasn't for me personally, but I did love the concept of it. This follows a character who goes to a magical school once his father's taken, and he tries to figure out how to find his power. There are books that they discover that have even more spells, kind of like spell books, and they have to constantly study these spells in order to retain them. So they can't really keep these spells in their head. They have to constantly keep studying and studying and studying until the spells stick in their head, and then they can use them constantly. There's a really cool part in the first book that I really liked. Yeah, there are really cool things I like about this book, but just not really for me, unfortunately. But I think there are people that would probably really like this book. 2 books left on this list, and the next one is going to be Shadow Princess, which is the, oh gosh, 4th book, I think, in the Zodiac Academy series by Caroline Peckman and Susan Valenti. And this book, what do I say about this book? The end of this book destroyed me. I will say that. It hurt me. I think I mentioned this already a few times, but it literally gave me actual chest pain, like in real life chest pain. It hurt. I was mad. I wanted to just throttle some of these characters. Unfortunately, I gave this a 3.25. It was probably the weakest book other than the first book in my opinion. Like, I liked the ending a lot, but a lot of the characters frustrated me in this book. There is a few things that I didn't like about this book other than the ending. Like I said, the ending was great in a way. Like, I hated it at the same time, but I also thought it was like really good. It was just, it's a cliffhanger, so I did that to myself. The reason why I didn't love this book is a few things. So first thing is the twins. So we're following the twins in this story, and the twins, both of them, are not the brightest sometimes. And I know that they're young, but my gosh. I can't really say much because it's spoilers, but there's something that exists that is pretty much obviously dangerous, but they decide, hey, you know what? Maybe we should see if it's not dangerous. Maybe we should try and see if we can communicate with it. And I'm like, are you okay? Don't do that, no. So like, they were just doing things. They were making dumb choices, and it annoyed the heck out of me. I know it's obviously for the plot, but oh my gosh, like, how did you think that was a good idea? Sometimes the twins are so frustrating. Oh my gosh. The next thing was probably the biggest thing I hated. Probably one of my biggest tropes that I hate, and that's miscommunication. There is a couple, I wouldn't even call them a couple, they're not really a couple yet, but there is 2 characters who have like a romance kind of dwelling. It's beginning in this book kind of, and the miscommunication is atrocious. Oh my gosh, they cannot talk to each other. One thinks that the other one's not talking to them because of one reason, and the other one thinks that they're being ignored by the other for another reason. The inner monologues of these characters thinking that, oh, this other character hates me because of this reason, when in actuality, no, that's not the reason. They don't even hate them, they're just not talking to each other. It just frustrated me. They were literally just making up problems that weren't even a thing, and just making it so that they would like dislike each other even more. And it was, again, another plot device that eventually blew up. But I'm just like, why don't you just talk? I know you don't like each other sometimes, but just talk to each other. I think those are the biggest problems. And also there was just like a stagnancy, but in the middle of the book, it just felt like kind of just the same thing for a lot of the book. I mean, these books are huge. This was over 700 pages, and the next books are like 800 to 900 pages. How? This is a like new adult paranormal fantasy. How? I still did enjoy it. 3.25 is pretty good for me. At 3 stars, it's a good book. So it was like a little bit above good, like it was enjoyable, but I think it's just like those aspects I mentioned are just the things that kind of just brought it down. Okay, the last book I can't wait to talk about. This is my favorite book of the entire year. This is my first 5 stars of 2022. This, you know, I'm just gonna show it before, you know, I'm sure everyone knows at this point what it is. And that is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd and final book in the era 1 of the Mistborn trilogy. And oh my gosh, when I say this is good, it's not even good, it's incredible. So this book is honestly one of my favorite books of all time now. I have 2 now. I have A Court of Mist and Fury as like my favorite book ever, and honestly this is going to be my 2nd favorite book, or even like tied with Akamath, which I can't believe I'm saying this was incredible. I cried, like cried at the end. This is the first book that actually made me full on cry when I read it. The ending, like I don't even want to think about it. It was so good. It was so good. And this trilogy just gets like, there's so many twists and turns, and oh my gosh, I can't even tell you what my favorite characters are. I think I just love Spook, Say Zed. I love all these characters. Marsh, like everyone, like Vin, everyone. You know what? I can't even tell you who I like. I just love them all so much. And I am so sad the Era 1 is over, but I'm going to hopefully read Era 2 eventually. I don't think I'm gonna rush to read Era 2 though, because I kind of don't really want to start it because it's not finished yet. I'm very bad with that. I don't like to start series that aren't finished. So I probably will put a hold on the second Era and maybe start the Stormlight Archive, or even a little bit of the other Cosmere books. I have Lantrist, so I might try Lantrist and Warbreaker and all that stuff. But right now, finished my first ever like Brandon Sanderson trilogy. Incredible. Like if you like fantasy with like hard magic systems and just scientific, it's almost like scientific magic. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so freaking cool. Battle scenes in these books. Brandon Sanderson knows how to write action scenes. Recommend the Mistborn trilogy. I heard some people don't like it, which is fine. So if you don't like the first book, I don't know if you'll like the other one. I liked the first book a lot. I gave it like a 4.5 stars, and maybe the second book, I think I gave the first book maybe a 4. The second book got a little bit higher, maybe 4.5, and then this book got 5. So I liked the second book a bit more than the first book, which I don't know if that's one popular opinion or not, but this is definitely my favorite of the trilogy. And like I said, one of my favorite books of all time now. Here's my tabs. I've tabbed a lot. I wrote and annotated in it, not on the pages, but I did have sticky notes. I wouldn't read this if you don't want spoilers, but I did put like sticky notes, and these are like clear sticky notes, so that way I have like thoughts. And then of course I have my tabs I like to write on. So my boyfriend was reading it after me, but I read it before he did, and we would stop right when he reached my points. So he would like read my annotations while I was doing it. It was so much fun. I just want to read another book like that this year. Those are 5 stars to me. Books that grip me, that like I love, those are 5 stars for me. I'm really hard at giving them out, but those are my types of 5 stars, and I loved it. So those are the 8 books I read in June and the 1 DNF I had. It was a really good month, honestly. I read incredible books, especially The Dark Nights Outside Us and The Hero of Ages was incredible. First, I'm taking part in Cassidy's Patreon reading. I think it's like a 3-month readathon that we're doing for dragon raising. So this is my dragon raising so far. This is Hestia, my dragon. She is a fire dragon. So the first month we had a dragon egg, and depending on the books that we read and the prompts that it fit, it would decorate the egg in different colors, and that would show you what element your dragon was. So I got a fire dragon, and these are the eggs I've colored in. So every time you read a book, it will fill a prompt, and loyalty is a bonus prompt for fire dragons. So I get 2 for each 1 prompt I do. July is going to be the second month of the 3-month readathon. So if you want to take part, you could probably still do it. It would be on Cassidy's Patreon. Her Patreon is very affordable too. I think I pay like $5.50 a month, and you get to do these types of things. I mean, come on, like, and you get the Discord and everything. Like, she makes it very affordable, so if you want to check it out, I will link her down below. I'll link her down below. I'll show you how this looks in July. I'm hoping I'll keep getting higher and higher, and once the 3 months are over, our dragon kind of gets like a job path depending on what stats you have. So I'm excited to keep filling in the eggs for next month. I hope you had a good reading month in June. I want to ask what you all read in June. I feel like I know a lot of your wrap-ups because I watch a lot of the people that comment on my videos. So I mean, you can tell me what your favorite books are of June, but I might already know depending on if I'm subscribed to you or not. I'd love to hear what you think about some of the books I mentioned and if you read any of them. But yes, thank you so much for watching my videos. As always, I appreciate you. I appreciate it. Hope you all have a good reading month in July. Take care of yourselves, keep cool, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day.